Do you know, I can't quite believe it, but for the second week in a row, we get to review a new episode of Doctor Who.
I know. It was bloody brilliant.
Oh, it was good, wasn't it? We go straight into it. Wild Blue Yonder, written by Russell T Davies, directed by Tom Kingsley, and broadcast on the 2nd of December 2023. Over to you, sir.
Right, I love psychological thriller episodes of Doctor Who.
Same.
It knock it out the park. I mean, look at Midnight. That was a brilliant episode. It's a standout from Series 4, on top of everything going on.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see the Doctor without the screwdriver having to deal with stuff for a change, because I feel the screwdriver's getting to that point again where it's nice. I love the new screwdriver, don't get me wrong. It's awesome, but I get the feeling it's just overpowered and overused.
Yeah, definitely after the sort of the new settings that we saw last week, I think it's so nice to just have the Doctor and Donna with nothing but their wits about them. I think, for me, I want to have a brief chat about this before we go into the episode, because, you know me, I want to get the baggage and stuff out of the way so we can just spend the next 20 minutes, half hour just gushing everywhere. I think it was a really weird choice to keep this one under wraps, but I can see why they did it, because it's a very good marketing thing going, hey, you know these 60th anniversary specials, well, this middle one you know nothing about, eh? Yeah, there's reasons for that, we're not telling you what. And they were talking about it on the official Doctor Who podcast, and Russell T Davies sort of chimed in and said, it's, you know, it might have been slightly detrimental now to have an episode kept under wraps, and the reason we did it is because it's the simplest one, because you've got the Starbase, which is this big sort of action-packed family fun adaptation, and then next week's which is going to be the big finale. You know, we don't know that much about it, but we know it's the return of the Toymaker and Kate and somebody else, and obviously it's the big regeneration episode as well, so that's going to be quite a big one. I think when you look at this one as it is on the tin, it's the Doctor and Donna on a spaceship meeting creepy versions of themselves. Like, it's not that much, but when you actually watch it, it really is, because I remember when we first watched this on the weekend, I was a bit, I don't want to say underwhelmed, because I still really enjoyed it, but there is that sort of a little bit of disappointment with it.
Well, yeah, you were expecting a returning Doctor or two.
Well, I may have mentioned a little bit how I was sort of trying to manifest the fact that McGann was going to be in it, and he wasn't, but it's okay, it's okay. We love you, Paul. I said that like he was dead. He's not dead. But do you know what I mean? Like, it's that sort of. I don't want to be negative about it, because I really did enjoy this, and I'll get into why in a second. But I think when you've got, if this was like episode 6 of 10, you know, you can kind of be like, oh yeah, we'll keep this one under wraps because it's quite nice to just have one that you don't know anything about. And that's quite a bit of, you know, it builds a bit of a prediction thing. Like, we were thinking about, what is this ship that they're on? Is it a TARDIS? Is it just a normal ship? Is it even a ship at all? Is it like a underground base or something? I get that, but you can't sort of blame people at the same time for 60th anniversary. I mean, there is that sort of level of, you've got to manage your expectations and things a little bit.
Yeah.
But these are 60th anniversary specials. You know, it's one of the ones that you kind of can forgive someone for thinking that you're going to see past Doctors in it, especially when the whole marketing thing around it has been, you don't know anything about this, so we're not telling you.
Yeah, I think that was a bad choice on on the producer's side of things.
Yeah, I don't think it's a choice that will age particularly well, but
No.
I wouldn't be opposed to them doing it again for regular, say, you know, I don't know, episode 3 of Shooty's series next year, if we just didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, it'd be a nice surprise. As you said, this episode was brilliant, but I agree. I felt the under wraps thing and so much being like focused on, oh yeah, you guys know nothing about episode 2, kind of made your expectations shoot right up though.
Yeah.
I know it's a case of manage your expectations, but you can't help that when they're like, yeah, we know what's going to happen in Doctor Who, but you don't. You're not going to till you see it.
Yeah, and during, you know, anniversary specials, that's when people sort of like the fan wanky brain is going to be like in overdrive, because there's a precedent for it. We've just gone through all of the anniversary specials. You know, there's the 3 Doctors, the 5 Doctors, Day of the Doctor, Dimensions in Time, but we don't talk about that. You know, it's a sort of expectation that's there, and you know, all right, we kind of had that last year with Power of the Doctor, but that was a celebration of the BBC and its history in general.
Yeah.
I think it will come off as a bit of a mistake as time goes on, but at the same time, have they done that to throw us off next week?
Yeah, they might have done.
Because I was starting to think this afternoon, I was like, what if this whole secrecy thing around this episode has been, let's get everybody focused on episode 2 so they just think that it's going to be quite a bit of an action-packed finale. What if next week we go, because we know we're getting surprises, because we've seen Mel's in it. You know, they accidentally leaked that through that Disney Plus version of the trailer. What if there's more to come next week that we don't know about?
This is true.
This is what I've been...
Yeah.
And the Toymaker next week could quite easily just go, well, what if I change your face into Peter Capaldi?
Yes. Oh, if he does it to Paul McGann. Oh, why am I doing this again?
Yeah, see, this is
again.
We've got to manage it. Anyway, enough about next week. We'll come round to that next week. I thought this started off a bit weird.
Yeah, so it started off with pre-credits. Isaac Newton. Great. I mean,
it's fine.
He was good. He was good for the role. He was great in. It was Years and Years, wasn't it?
No, the other one he did. It's a Sin.
It's a Sin. Yeah. Sorry. I apologise for getting it wrong.
Nathaniel Curtis, I think, is the actor's name. I was just a bit confused by the whole reason we've had this pre-credit sequence, because he comes at the TARDIS, the Doctor, after landing on the apple tree, and it's a fun little gag of, this is when he discovered gravity, or mavity as we're now calling it. But they're saying the triangulate, so I think it would have been quite fun to have a pre-credit scene where maybe they go to some more, interfering with other little bits and pieces in history. They could go back and, I don't know, I can't think of any scientific discoveries now. Well, that's made me look like an
They
idiot.
could have gone back and stopped the fire of London in early on.
Yeah,
instead.
and Peter Davison there in The Visitation. There's your cameo. There we go.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I think it would be quite good, because on its own it just feels a little bit out of place, especially as Isaac Newton holding the apple heads into the credits. And all we get from that then is just them just saying mavity instead of gravity throughout the rest of the episode. All the people as well, there's a lot of people going on about the fact they cast a person of colour as Isaac Newton, and how it's not scientifically how it's not historically accurate and everything. And I could sort of see a little bit, but at the same time, in the Doctor Who universe, what's to say Isaac Newton was white? We don't know.
Yeah.
We've never seen Isaac Newton in Doctor Who before.
No, and there's multiple universes out there in the Whoniverse, and we've seen that. So who's to say he's in ours?
Exactly. I think that when people I can get where sort of people come from the historical angle of, well, I'd rather just be portrayed as they were, and that's when sci-fi. I get that, but it's that people get really, really arsey about it, saying how it's all, and I hate this word so much. It's all woke and everything, and it's all diversity hires and stuff. It just takes so much away, and especially for black actors, where there have been roles that have been for black people that have been played by white people throughout history. I mean, the Royal Shakespeare Company didn't actually do a production of Othello by William Shakespeare, which was written in, the 1400s, whatever, that starred a black actor until David Harewood in 1997.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because people are like, well, you wouldn't do it the other way around. You'd never have Ryan Gosling play Barack Obama or something. And
no,
of course you wouldn't, because we've had years and decades of that now. We're at a point now where it's like, let's just have great actors in these great roles. If it was a proper biopic about Isaac Newton, sure, you would get someone that looks the part. But when it's just a throwaway scene like this, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, people.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, it was an okay opening credits, but it didn't do much for me. It just set up that gag you hear 3 times, I think it is, in the actual episode.
3 or 4, yeah. I think it's just so weird how these two have had very subpart pre-credit sequence and then gone into a really strong episode. You don't often get that. As we head into the episode, oh my god. Although I had that sort of disappointment the first time round and a tiny bit of underwhelmment, watching it for a second time the following day, and again just now to make the notes and everything, what a fantastic episode. I absolutely loved it. This, for me, has probably become my favourite episode of Doctor Who since for about 10 years, about roughly. And I know I said that last week, but this for me is beaten Star Beast. We'll get on to rankings a bit later on, but I just, like you, I love when Doctor Who does psychological horror. I love psychological horror stories anyway. I much prefer that to sort of boo or blood and guts and stuff. Something that really gets inside your head is much more unnerving to me.
Yeah.
And, like you said, with Midnight and stuff, Doctor Who has a history of doing it so, so well. And this was just, I really enjoyed this. I really, really did. One thing I wasn't that fussed on was the dodgy green screen of that corridor.
Yeah, it was noticeable, especially after everything we saw with the Star Beast as well. I was kind of expecting a bit better.
I think the mistake was making it all CGI.
Yeah, they could have had some practical stuff in there.
I get that obviously you need a bit of CGI for when it's shifting around and stuff, but the rest of it, because there's so much of it and it's so focused on as a location of the story, that when it's all CGI, it just looks a little bit like they were parts. I think it's because it's so light as well. If it's darker, you don't notice it as much, but because it's so light, it does just come across as a very Spy Kids 3.
Yeah.
That was the vibe I was getting for, at least anyway. And I think if they'd have built an actual set and then maybe just filmed this on the green screen when it was shifting around and stuff and just reconfigured that set manually, or just did a really big corridor with a green screen at the end and just filled it in that way, it would have worked slightly better. I just think relying on it so much, so heavily, and so early on in the episode as well, because it's within the first 5 minutes of them being on that ship after they come out of the TARDIS and the Doctor plugs the Sonic in for it to reconfigure. I do love the synthy score that Murray's starting to use a bit more. There was a tiny bit of it last week, but this week we've got it's very almost like a homage to the 80s kind of radiophonic workshop era. And I'm really enjoying the fact that Murray Gold isn't just back and blasting the music into our ears.
Yeah, it's like little subtle bits here and there.
It's much more subtle and it works much better for me. You know, when it's bombastic when it needs to be. But in the quieter moments, it's quieter. There's musical callbacks, not just to his original, or even to the Tennant Tate era originally. There's stuff in there from like Capaldi's era, like you hear a bit of Face the Raven in this. There's even tiny bits of like the Flux soundtracks that he's using, inspiration from Sega Nakanola's work. That all works for me. I think it's really, really good.
And it's really nice for him to acknowledge the work from those before he came back.
Yeah.
Which is lovely.
Yeah, I think it's, and it just adds to the sort of world building of it, because you hear when they're talking about the Flux, which we'll get onto, you hear the Flux, and then at the end where Donna's talking about like how they are and everything, you hear Face the Raven and stuff, reminding him of like sort of people he's lost and everything, and it just works. Tennant and Tate, I think this is probably for me their best performance in the show up until this date, by quite a way.
Yeah,
they can do the fun stuff excellently, but they can do the heartbreaking stuff as well, and the really tense scenes. I mean, I love the fact that I've said this last week as well, but the fact that we've got a more emotionally mature Doctor really, really works. Like, because it would be quite easy to bring back the David Tennant and have him just play 10th Doctor just with a different outfit.
Yeah.
But he's done enough to make it feel like it's different, especially in this as well. He's got that sort of, him and Donna snap at each other out of like frustration and fear, and then immediately he's like, no, we're not doing this, and he immediately gives her a kiss on the hand and everything. That looks like he didn't punch her. He gave her a kiss on the hand.
You might have wanted to for spilling the cup of coffee on his TARDIS though.
But they have that like tiny bit of thrashing out, but it's a quick line or two of dialogue, and then it goes back into, right, we're not going to do this, we'll figure this out. I don't know what it is about Tennant, and this was something I really noticed at the end, but the man can do exposition, I think, better than the majority of the other Doctors. Because I don't notice it before. Like, there was a lot of it in Chibnall's era, and even a bit in sort of the Moffat era, where you think, that exposition's really clunky. But there's something about the way that Tennant performs it that it doesn't feel clunky.
It flows so smooth.
Yeah, it's like it just comes out of him.
Yeah.
It's really, really impressive, to be fair. But, I love that. And I love that, they have the jokey, fun stuff as well about him. They talk about Isaac Newton, like, is he hot and everything? And he's like, yeah, he was and everything. And it's not made a big deal of it. It's not meant to be like the Doctor is, but he's just mature enough to go, that man was a good-looking man.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. It's not played up to be this big, because that was another thing. All the anti-woke people were like, the Doctor's gay. And it's like, we don't know that. He didn't say that. He just said that there was a good-looking man.
Yeah.
It's not that much of a big deal.
Didn't hear him complaining. Actually, no, you did hear him complaining with Jodie and Yaz, to be fair.
I love how Donna isn't just sucked back into, it's me and the Doctor and the TARDIS and everything, we'll have a really fun time. She's like, no, I don't, like, I love this and I love you, but I don't want to be here. I want to get back to my family. They're waiting for me.
Yeah.
That plays on in mind quite a bit, which is really unlike the Donna we know, but it does feel like a natural progression of the character too.
Yeah, and speaking on progression as well, she's now able to do a lot. She gets a lot more to do than just being the sidekick, I think. I mean, she always did a lot with David Tennant anyways, but it always felt like she was the sidekick role, just sort of watching around. Now she's a lot more involved than she was previously, which is nice to see.
And she's even helping the Doctor doing a bit of the working out of what's going on the ship and everything.
Yeah.
I love that slow burn first 10-15 minutes to it, because that was like you get in the 60s where certain, like, some stories would just have the first episode and it's just the regulars wandering around the place, just sort of like looking around and talking to each other. And I think that really works well here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that when they're in the other rooms and stuff, and they're both working to different things to try and get the ship powered up again, you see what we led to believe the Doctor just coming in, not suspecting anything different, like literally a couple seconds after we'd seen him leave. and just sit down, start talking to Donna, having that really emotional chat about how he wants to get to know Sean and how he can't wait to see Wilf and all that. And then the Doctor and talking to evil Donna, I've decided to call her, about Gallifrey and stuff as well. And then that really like intense chat between the Doctor and Donna and the evil ones.
Yeah.
And then that slow realization of, oh, hang on, you're not. Who? What the hell are you?
I thought something was up when that when the not Doctor walked in and sort of like sits down really weirdly. I was like, that was a bit unusual. And then just there's something in his eyes. I was like, nah, that's not you, Doctor. And then it cuts back to him in the other room. I was like, oh dear.
It's he's not focused on in the camera as he comes in. So, but like, if he sits down as if he's really worried, like he knows he can't get out of there and he doesn't know how to break it to Donna. But if that was the case, the camera would be on him.
Yeah,
all the way through.
I think Tom Keighley did a brilliant director. Brilliant director for this. And I love that scene where they're exploring. They get to the control room. And they're just looking out into that like empty space, and the Doctor's explaining that this is the furthest they've ever been. It's like the absolute edge of the known universe. And the fact that he's, that there's nothing more that you can really process, because if space is infinite, how can you be at the edge of something that's infinite? And that sort of, and I sort of love when Doctor Who does stories like this. There's a great big finish called Time's Horizon, which is sort of set very similarly on a ship that's at the end of the universe, and hijinks ensue. But this did it even better. Just that sort of, the loneliness and the isolation really makes the story, even though they're on this enormous spaceship, it really just makes it feel so much more claustrophobic. And I just thought that was very, very good. But yeah, no, we get the reveal of the two of them in the room. I love that speech the Doctor gives about where the TARDIS could end up and stuff, and how it's almost like a parallel to how the Time Lords started out. It started off as people that, then they sort of worshipped time, and then it became into this big civilization. They almost sort of forgot their roots and everything. It's quite an interesting little parallel that I spotted.
Yeah, no, it was beautiful.
I really love the design of the ship as well, how it's all very hydraulic-y feeling. You've got the tubes of the bubbling water and everything looks like old-fashioned taps that he's cranking and everything. That was just, yeah. And the sets, to be fair, I think having that dodgy green screen, it doesn't half help make those sets look even better when they go on the practical stuff, because the way they're lit and everything, just, it looks so good. Yeah. And the use of the different colours to work out that they're on different levels and stuff was very cool. But it's very atmospheric. I did think the first time I thought we were going to get cameos when the Doctor and Donna get separated, and you hear Donna when those footsteps are coming towards her.
Oh yeah, that was.
I was
great.
like, I was fully expecting Paul McGann to run out of there and be like, "Right, what's going on?"
Yeah, that is like no music at all. It was just dead silent, and you just hear the door shut.
Yeah,
and it's a nice little jump scare.
Yeah, in there. I may have jumped when that happened when it first happened.
Oh, I felt it. I was sat on the sofa next to you.
yeah. I did. I was eating cheese and crackers, and I did sort of crunch a bit of cracker just down your shoulder.
Yeah,
you didn't
thank
notice,
you.
It's fine. No, I thought this was just really atmospheric and tense and claustrophobic, and I love things like that when they're in confined space. But you can't even call it a confined space because this ship is just absolutely huge. But yeah, the idea of it falling through a wormhole as well, I was like, are we going to get Timeless Children stuff here? Is that what this is coming? This is what this is coming to now, because obviously we know that the Doctor is from a wormhole, it's from a different universe and everything. And I was waiting for it to happen just to look at your face.
See, when you were looking at me like that, I thought you were thinking about the three Doctors with Omega. And I was just thinking,
you did say that to me. You just sort of whispered to me, Omega, and I was like, I don't think so. I was
just thinking it could have been a very interesting way to bring it back.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of them sort of, because they're invoking superstitions and stuff and these things. They don't really understand the end of the universe. Could that bring back something? I mean, that's definitely going to be how the toy makers involved next week, isn't it? It's this invoking of superstitions at the end of the universe where things don't quite make sense just yet.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love the playful relationship between these two when they're just exploring before all the weird stuff starts happening. When he's licking that thing and he starts to fake that he's being all poisoned and everything and he's just winding her up. I just think, very, very good.
But after they realise that they're not talking to who they think they are and they start running around, you get that thing where it's like, oh yeah, that's what we get, isn't it? We get hungry and
that was really creepy.
Yeah, that was really strange. Like, my arms are too long. was a great little.
That's going to be another sort of "Are you my mummy?" or like, so who turns off the light and everything for kids now who are watching that. They're going to be running around scared people, but going, "My arms are too long." Ooh,
Yeah.
weird. And the practical effects are so good.
Oh, I know. They
like
were
seeing
brilliant.
how they were made on Unleashed with it was just a big scan of David Tennant just T-posing in the middle of these big scanners, and they are just big arms that he was carrying around and everything.
Poor guy. But yeah. So we get past that. The Doctor and Donna get separated, as we talked about, where Donna walks through the one service duct, I guess.
Yeah, like
in the dark.
And is this after they've had that big chase down the corridor? That
The
was
big,
a bit silly, but it was a bit
where they
weird.
get really big and then start shrinking, and it's just that was rather strange.
I think it's something that might not age particularly well effects wise, and but.
Kudos.
I don't want to bang on about the effects, but what it is for me is because such a big deal has been made about this Disney partnership and this bigger budget. We have to sort of hold these things to a higher bar now.
Yeah,
because
the bars
we
have been
can't
raised.
keep comparing it to going, well, it was much better than it looked 10 years ago. Well, yeah, that's just natural. But when you've got this big injection of cash from one of the biggest companies and entertainment-wise in the world, you've sort of got to think, can we do a little bit more with that? Can we just make it a little bit? I mean, I know it's all new tech as well. I suppose that people are getting used to it, but there is that raising of the bar for me now. But
I just love it. At the end of that chase scene, they come out of the service ducts and then they're confronted with the not Doctor and not Donna in their respective rooms.
Yeah.
And
because on first watch, when you first see the two of them together, I thought, why are they being so... Oh, that's because I thought, surely they haven't just done all of that just to come back together straight away. And of course, then you get that tension between the two of them.
And it's just, it's that bit... For me, I love watching Donna ramble on about where she was born in Southampton because her family went there for a holiday, and her mum went into labour in Southampton, and that's how her mum says, I always ruin everything. Or
it's quite interesting to see that there's still, even though that the relationship between her and Sylvia is much more positive than we've seen after last week, there's still, it's not completely 100%. There's still a lot of things that I think they both need to resolve. And I think it was quite interesting to parallel that in terms of, you've got Donna dealing with that, but you've got the Doctor then dealing with, finally having some emotional acknowledgement of the flux and the timeless child and stuff, because that was for me, and that was something that we mentioned in our tier list nearly a year ago now, where we even said, the fact that there's these big revelations and they don't really mean anything because it never seems to have that much of an effect other than the Doctor sort of just sits and stares into the middle distance for a bit. And
then just everything's okay.
Yeah.
And I love that they did touch on this. It was a really good scene. David Tennant's acting was incredible. It really got emotional.
It's so nice to see that we can have a Doctor that's so can emotionally accept these things now and go, of course I keep running because how could I not when this thing that devastated half the universe was made because of me and a life that I don't even know. That was something that obviously is going to play on the Doctor's mind, and I know that, quite a lot of the 13th Doctor's thing was the fact that she is quite closed off, but there's got to be at least some point where she at least acknowledges it, because otherwise it just looks like, well, there we go, that's all sorted now, and the last episode of the Flux should have been that. But instead she just runs around, and, it's just a run around to different locations and stuff, as it usually is in a Chibnall finale, and whereas this, you get a proper... I'm going to deal with this for a bit. And it's not just in that scene, we have that scene where he's banging the grates, everything, and kicking it, and really just having that moment to really just vent a bit, and then realise, well, I've still got something to sort out here now. I've got to save Donna and everything. And he doesn't say any of that, but you can just see it in his face. He goes,
yeah, it's like, that's dealt with. Let's focus on the now.
Yeah, and I hope it's something that get picked up on it, because at the end in the TARDIS, they sort of mention how, the Doctor asks Donna, did you remember anything when you were in the Meta Crisis? And, the Doctor, Donna, did you remember everything that happened to me? And she sort of, you could tell she's lying, because it's obvious she's lying, because otherwise how would the clone Donna know that? I just hope that they do eventually touch on that next week and go, right, let's actually have a chin wag now and actually talk about what's happened, because I don't want this to keep being a trend now where you get hints of them opening up to each other and having a really positive relationship back to it being, right, we're not going to talk about this.
Yeah.
I hope that by the time we get to Shooty and Millie, it's something that they will talk to each other about everything, and it just feels like a really solid pairing. But I get why they didn't in this, because obviously they've just been through a significant ordeal on this ship.
Which is far from over at this point.
Oh yeah, because, we've gone from the scene of just the two pairs of them recognising, sort of questioning each other, to all four of them being there. And it's that Spider-Man meme of, you could just almost imagine them pointing at each other. And, the idea that these creatures rely on the other people they need to copy other people for them to work out what's going on, and for the other people that they're copying to work out makes perfect sense, because it almost weaponizes that aspect of the Doctor that they have to do all the talking out loud. It almost turns exposition into the reason that they're growing and much more advanced. Just didn't make any sense, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. It was brilliant. So you had all that going on, and the Doctor invokes a superstition.
Yeah.
You can't cross the line of salt if you're a ghost or vampire, or what was the other one? Demon, I think. Until you've counted every single grain of salt.
And playing with the sort of the rules of reality like that,
it's like,
we
Earth,
know what he's done there.
So on Earth, you can believe two things at once. It's like, it's a superstition, it's made up, or it's a superstition, and it's like, but it's both, because you can believe two things at once, and that was really cool.
Yeah, I like that a lot, and
you got that dialogue between the Doctor and himself. You finally get an insight into what these things are, and they're saying like they've drifted through time, feeling every second of time from the universe the Doctor and Donna are from. Say all that boiling hot universe full of rage and war, and it molded them into what they are.
Yeah, which I just thought was such a cool, we don't know, and I love it when Doctor Who does the monsters that we don't know exactly what they are, because I always feel like that's more scary. Like the Daleks, we know all about the Daleks, we know how they were created, we know how they think, everything, but with something like this, we don't know, and we never will. It's the kind of thing why things like the Midnight Entity work so well, because we don't know what it is, and it's that idea, again, similar to a Midnight as well. It's that idea of having these creatures that will become you is more unnerving than something that will just kill you.
Yeah.
Something that will kill you and then take your place and manipulate everyone else around you is more unnerving than just something going blam blam.
Yeah.
To me, anyway. I don't know.
Blam blam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Blam blam. It was like...
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah, but the abstract nature of these creatures as well, and the fact that they don't understand shape and they can't get their heads around why things are slow, because we can just do all of this now, and it brings out that impulsive nature of the Doctor and Donna trying working out between them, sort of having that mental back and forth of, well, why did the captain do this? The captain of the ship must have killed herself in order to stop those two, but what did she set in motion? And that idea of the words that we've been hearing all through the ship is actually just a really long, slow countdown. It's just so good. I really just think that was great, because you could quite easily have just had, this ship is set to explode in so many hours, and we've got to stop these creatures and make sure the ship explodes, and also get off at the same time. The only thing that does bother me a tiny little bit with that is because of that, if the ship is going to explode, obviously that means that gets rid of the hostile action, so the TARDIS can come back. Just felt a little bit almost too convenient.
Yeah.
And the fact that TARDIS lands right where the Doctor's standing as well. I get that that's the link between the Doctor and the TARDIS, but plot-wise it just felt... I was like, surely they're not just going to leave now, but then you get that extra layer then where he takes the wrong Donna.
Yeah, no, that was brilliant.
Tate's so good in that scene, because just the look on if she's obviously screaming at the TARDIS and then she just sort of quietly accepts it, and you can just see it in her face. It's just
she's just ready to go, and then the Doctor only realizes because Donna's in the TARDIS and the scanner says like there's something wrong with her. And it was, her wrist was 0.06
millimeters or something.
Too big. And
I thought Donna was going to die. I really did think. I was like, because we were looking at each other and we looked over at the other two and we were just like, are we going to get like fake Donna in the last one? Is Donna going to die here? Because I could kind of see that sort of justifies the whole, we're going to keep this really spoiler free, guys. You're not going to find anything out.
Yeah. No, that would have really upset a lot of people. That would have been a bold move.
I mean, it would have been a bold move, to be fair, and I would have almost saluted it, but at the same time, I would also feel like we would have needed a bank holiday.
Yeah.
If I have to have a day off to mourn for the Queen, I'd have needed at least 2 or 3 to mourn Donna Noble.
Yeah.
But all in all, this was just phenomenal. I think, for me, and I can't remember the last time I gave an episode this, to be perfectly honest, I really have to sit down and think, 9 out of 10.
Yeah, same with me. It'd be a hard press to go I'd be hard pressed to challenge you on that. This is a 9 out of 10 for me. I absolutely love it.
The only thing that drops at that last point is the sort of the CGI and the TARDIS coming back so quickly, and why that pre-credit scene was just a bit disconnected from everything else. But that was fantastic, and obviously we can't talk about this without mentioning the ending.
Yeah, unfortunately, BBC have confirmed this is Bernard Cribbin's final scene ever.
And I think, in a way, it's such a nice scene for him to have at the end, for him to see Donna with her memories back, and to see that doctor as well, and to sort of, give him one last, you've got to do something. You think people are going crazy, you've got to help us, is such a natural end to that character that we'll see. And I think that it took everybody by surprise.
Yeah.
Because,
the gasp was audible.
Yeah, we were expecting him next week, weren't we? Let's be honest. We were expecting either in the first one or the last one, but to have him in that scene pop up at the end was such a cool surprise that I didn't see coming, because I was sort of emotionally prepared myself to see Wilf next week. But because he's such a likeable... I mean, I don't know anybody who likes Doctor Who and doesn't like Wilf.
No, he's the most lovable character.
And I just think that to have him in that scene as well, and that tribute they did to him on Unleashed was really lovely as well.
Yeah, that got me. That really got me. That did. That was beautiful.
I mean, we were all a bit speechless after it, weren't we? We were just sort of sat there for the last 5 minutes of Unleashed, just sort of not really speaking, because we were all just a bit... shit.
Yeah.
It was such a... It was, and in a good way, like, it's, obviously something like this is sad, but how lucky are we to get that one scene? Because that one scene would have been, you could have done something like, you could have rewritten it so that the Doctor and Donna come out and it's Sylvia or Sean stood there, or Rose or whatever. But to keep that scene in, and it's Bernard Cribbins' last ever thing he filmed, he was planned to do more. And I like the fact that, Russell has said that he's safe. We haven't killed him off or anything like that, because I think that would be just a little bit too far.
Way too far.
I think it'll be a case of next week it'll all go a bit mental, and Unit have said, don't worry, Wilf's secure. He's got people there looking after him. He's making sure that you're all right or whatever, and said give him a ring when you finish. I don't know, something like that, just so that we know that he's still there and he's still looking out for the Doctor and Donna, and everything was just... It's a bit emotional, really, wasn't it?
Very, very. And it was nice that it caught us off guard, to be honest. I mean, I would have liked to have prepped for that.
I mean, like you said, there was an audible gasp from the five of us that were sat there watching it. I think all of us sort of just went... I mean, it was just such a nice end. It was a lovely treat to an episode that at that point I was a bit underwhelmed by, but after watching it another 2 times, it's gone up to being top new series episodes of all time for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I wasn't underwhelmed, but it was... I did feel that it was overhyped. I wasn't underwhelmed by the episode, because the episode itself was brilliant.
Yeah.
But it definitely could have done without the whole... I would have preferred to have not had it such a secret, and I'd have rather have saved the secret for the final episode.
Yeah, I mean, we still don't know what's going to happen next week and everything. I think that, although I did feel a bit underwhelmed at the time, I was still going, that was still a cracking good story. But the thing is, we had something that was quite cameo heavy last year with Power of the Doctor, and as fun as that is, and I very much enjoyed seeing everybody back and all that, the story is all over the place. Whereas this is, it's a celebration of Doctor Who by showing how much they can push the boat out with the sort of high concept, abstract sci-fi stuff. And at the end of the day, what more of a fitting tribute do you need to Doctor Who's 60th anniversary than just having them chase the villains down a really, really long corridor? You don't get much more Doctor Who than that. But coming back to it, if you feel a bit underwhelmed by it and you've only seen it once, go and watch it again.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, because I think that's what's made me enjoy it so much, because the second time I watched it Sunday evening, I was like, oh, that was really, really, really good.
Yeah, this episode definitely holds up on a rewatch.
Oh, yeah.
I think it holds up the most after, in a long time since Tennant's last run, I'd say.
There are some episodes here and there that do stand up, quite a lot of them, to be fair, but...
Not like this.
For me, this was because I think I was so not... I don't want to say disappointed with it, because I wasn't disappointed at all, that's a complete lie. But to go into that thinking we were going to see... And that was that was partly on me, to be fair. It partly is on the production team for going, this is so secret, but it's definitely on me, because I sort of spent ages sort of manifesting the cameos and stuff. But that could still happen. We've still got an episode left.
You're doing it again.
Just saying. But I think I am as excited as I am for Ncuti Gatwa. I really, really am. God, I am going to miss these two.
Yeah.
Because to have them back for a little bit and then have them go off again is going to be quite emotional, I think, next week, especially because it's so nostalgic from childhood and everything. And for them to come back now, I was 8 when David Tennant and Catherine Tate were on Doctor Who. I'm 23 now. It's been 15 years, and it's been, a lot has happened for viewers as well as the characters. And I think to have them back so soon is a real treat. And I think it's going to be... I've never been so excited for a new Doctor, but also not ready to say goodbye to the current ones as I am next week.
Yeah.
This week. Oh, God. It's a few days' time.
It feels so short-lived, this Doctor's run, and I think it's going to go down as probably one of the Doctor's shortest lives.
Well, yeah, it will do, because they seem to lead in one after another. Obviously, but there's a bit before the Star Beast, like with the Children in Need Special and the comics and things. You could probably slot a couple of things in there, but not a lot.
No, exactly. And... Yeah.
But even so, I think it's been so strong that I can't really fault it so far. Are we going to throw in some predictions for next week?
Doctor dies.
I think he's cracked it. To be honest with you. I don't know how I'm going to beat that one.
No.
I'm expecting some more surprises than just the ones we know about next. Obviously, we know Mel's back from the leaked photos. I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe Tegan or Ace or even someone like Martha. And if Martha comes back, I want the 14th Doctor to walk over there, get down on his hands and knees, and say sorry for being such a gobshite to you 15 years ago. Because, it was something that I've never really noticed that much until last time I did a rewatch. But my God, their relationship at times was not healthy.
No. No, it's...
So I'm hoping if that is the case, that happens. I think Toymaker's obviously going to be good. We now know that he does have a British accent and that German accent, that... Is it even German? I don't even know what accent it was, but it's obviously just a bit of flamboyant show. But yeah, I think that's Neil Patrick Harris is going to be good in there.
See, I reckon, and this is very far-fetched, but it could happen, the Toymaker is responsible for a well-known character's death in this next episode. Not a Doctor or Donna, maybe family, maybe someone high up in unit.
I could see that. I mean, we know Kate's safe because we know she's back next year, but...
Yeah, it could be.
I think there's going to be some sort of, not just a regeneration next week, there's going to be some kind of emotional gut punch.
Oh, yes, yeah. 100%. A threat to Wilf in a unit?
No, stop that. That's too far. Oh, no. I can't bring myself to face that. That's too much.
No, to be fair, I'm with you on that.
You just said it, you monster.
Yeah, well, I can... feel bad for what I've said sometimes.
Good, as you should. We will leave it there then.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week with our review of The Giggle, and let us know what you thought of Wild Blue Yonder in the comments below.
Yes, please. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe, especially ahead of next week.
And also, subscribe to us on Spotify.
Yes.
If you're listening on Spotify already, please do. If you're watching us on YouTube, consider going over there and subscribing, because that means that we're portable, and you can take us anywhere, like the gym, to work, in the bath. Well, don't take us in the bath. That sounds weird.
Buy us a drink first.
See you next week.
Bye.